Great morning, holy brothers and sisters, for the 12th of SHEVAT in the Kitzur Likutei Moharan. Today's lesson will be called Blemished Brains. All this, however, applies only to a person who occasionally experiences an immoral thought. Then it is sufficient for him to recite these two verses. But if he habitually thinks about this all-encompassing craving, God forbid, and he is unable to separate himself from it, he must actually shed tears at the time he accepts upon himself the yoke of the kingdom of heaven. For tears come from an excess of black bile, i.e. melancholy, and black bile is spleen. Spleen is identified with the kingdom of evil, the lascivious woman. Accordingly, when such a person sheds tears, this excess matter, namely the craving for physical intimacy that derives from impurities in the blood resulting from excess spleen, is thereby expelled and leaves the body, and his soul is included within the kingdom of heaven. Such a person must arouse and awaken himself until he weeps and sheds tears at the time that he says Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem Kivro Mechasol Li'olam Va'ed. Tough tears truly blast black bile. When the true tzaddik reveals the Torah teaching, he thereby brings down new souls to each of his followers who hear the Torah teaching that are connected to it. Each one of them then receives this new soul in accordance with who he is and with his own understanding. It is a fundamental principle that it is impossible for a person to comprehend and grasp the meaning of the words of the tzaddik unless he has first properly rectified his physical intimate purity. Conversely, when a person blemishes his physical intimate purity, his mind and brain become tainted to the point that he cannot grasp or comprehend the words of the tzaddik at all. Consequently, such a person is liable to stumble in the words of the tzaddik if he goes ahead and follows the twistedness of his own heart and heeds the inane doubts and questions about the tzaddik that enter his mind. The pathways of God are straight. The righteous will walk in them, and sinners will stumble in them. Hosea 14:10. In other words, each person receives and interprets the Torah teachings of the tzaddik according to his own understanding, which is determined by the quality of his own vessel, namely his own mind. Thus, when a person has properly rectified his physical intimate purity, his mental faculties are then intact and unblemished. As it is explained in the Holy Zohar 2:110, Yesod ascends to Abba, father, and Ima, mother, with Abba and Ima corresponding to the letters Yud and Hey, which relate to the two sides of the brain. Accordingly, when Yesod, corresponding to the reproductive organ, is rectified, then a person can understand the words of the tzaddik, and he obtains a new soul through the tzaddik's revelations of the Torah. On the other hand, a person who is not rectified in this area, God forbid, is in the category of sinners will stumble in them, since one's comprehension and understanding accords with the degree to which he has rectified his physical intimate purity. Brains become blemished with twisted teachings of tzaddikim unless understands real rectification. As always, thank you so much for learning together. If you enjoyed this lesson, please remember to like, comment, share, and borrow. And please God, we'll learn again tomorrow.